So I decided to fly and do a range test video up by Lake Hugh, so I saw this water tower in the distance, chose it as my destination, and on my way there I made this discovery that Castaic Lake has a second dam and a third reservoir, which I knew nothing about, and I barely made it back. I beat my record of 21,000 feet, but barely made it back, just about dumped it in those bushes and probably would have had a hard time retrieving my drone. As you can see from the launch point, the drop off is pretty steep and there's no trails of any kind down there, so little did I know I would cut it this close. I was feeling confident because it was a beautiful day. There was no wind to speak of. When I launched, I only had 94% in my battery. I had topped it off like 2 nights ago, 100%, and then let it sit, and I noticed that sometimes you plug them in and some of the voltage drops, so keep that in mind. As I flew, I didn't realize that over this hill is Castaic Reservoir. This is one tributary that I've flown over several times, and there it is. And it struck me, it was only 2 months ago that I flew over this area, and it looks like the water level has dropped even more, so it's very disconcerting. As I crossed over this part and kind of sort of adjusted my heading towards my destination, the water tower, I saw that there was a water source in front of it. So I thought maybe there was a body of water, a tributary of Castaic Reservoir there, but lo and behold, I made a little discovery. This is why we love these drones. We fly them in these areas and we discover these things. I didn't know that there was a second dam. So Castaic Reservoir, the dam that we all see from the 5 freeway, the large dam, holds back the large lake where there's boating and kayaking and fishing and all that stuff in the bottom and the top lake. But this is a second dam and a third reservoir, and I knew nothing about this. I suppose I should have known, because if you look on Google Maps, it's there in the top left, you can see it, and then the large dam in the center there with the red dot, that's the one that we all see. But the one that I'm looking at right now, flying over right now, is you can't see it from any roads anywhere. The only way you can see it literally is to do this. There's no public roads to access this area. Maybe that's why it's so pristine. There's some roads over there you can see, but those are all fire roads. Not really sure when I was looking at this that it looks like there's a spillway to the right, that little triangular shaped cement area, but I don't know if the water level, this is normal, this is the way it's supposed to be, but the water actually, it's beautiful out here. And at this point in the flight, I was reaching the furthest distance that I would go. So my previous record was about 21,000 feet and in one direction, so I was determined to break that record. I knew at this point that I was not going to make it to the white water tower in the hill. It looks like it's at least a mile and a half away. So at this point I was just kind of keeping an eye on the battery's percentage. At this point it was about 52, 53. And I was trying something that I learned online. There was a guy on YouTube that said that if you keep your drone going like no faster than like 21 miles per hour, like right in that 21, 22 miles per hour sweet spot, you can maximize the life of the battery on this particular flight. So you can extend the range, I guess. And he said it was a sweet spot, so I tried that. It's harder than you think to keep the stick kind of 3/4 forward. I wish this thing had cruise control. But at this point, I passed 21,000 feet. I said, let's get to 22. I was right around 50% battery, and I was thinking that I had plenty of power to get back. Because on my previous flight in Fillmore, when I was flying back with the wind, I turned around at like 43% and made it back with 13% left. So I figured I got plenty of juice. As I was flying back and I started to see that percentage go lower, I was really starting to white knuckle it. I couldn't see the road, and finally I spied it right here. I was close enough. Here I'm about maybe a mile and a half away. And I was trying to get back. I'm going to speed up the video here so it goes quicker, but I was trying to get back obviously before it fell below 12% where it would force land. And this is I didn't quite make it. So at this point is when it got to 12% and it started to do its forced landing where it loses altitude. So you can keep going forward and you can fly it, but it tends to fall out because it's trying to land itself. So you got to keep the stick up and keep the drone up, and I white knuckled it. Oh my god, because I knew if I dumped it in there I'd never get it back. But I landed it with 3%, just barely enough to get it down on the ground. But safe flight because I got it back in one piece.